Good afternoon, I'm Meteorologist Bailey Braun, and looking ahead for the rest of our weekend, which is only a few hours away, as well as the start of the work week, we do have a little bit of a change on the way. We have a lot of stormy conditions moving through western Alaska. We also have some of those stormy impacts moving into south central. So we'll jump in and I can tell you exactly what you can expect to start off your work week. So just looking at our weather headlines, we have our photo from Teresa Thiel. So thank you, Teresa. Frosty sunrise in south central, but just looking ahead, we can expect to see just a little bit more of these stormy impacts that we've been looking at throughout this weekend. Now, this winter storm warning is going to last through Wednesday. This is affecting most of the western coastline, all the way up from Seward Peninsula, all the way down near Bethel. So we're going to continue to monitor that coastal flooding potential, as well as that wintry mix that is going to impact Nome as well as the rest of the Seward Peninsula and moving down into the YK Delta. Now, as a result of this storm, we are expecting to see some snow moving in for south central. So that's going to roll in the early morning hours for Monday, but the rest of Alaska is also going to face some other impacts. Now, just looking at our satellite and radar, you can see we have a lot of things happening in western Alaska. All of that purple we can see highlighted is a winter weather advisory. Now, we even have that issue down in Anchorage and South Central. This is mostly true for the eastern portions of the Turnagain Arm, but we have our winter storm warning impacting the Seward Peninsula, and we do have a blizzard warning down in southwestern Alaska. So we're going to continue to monitor those, but with our jet stream forecast, we can see this big low pressure system highlighted in purple right there. That's what we're looking at. That's really the big weather maker. You can see that jet stream is flowing into south central, bringing in those stormy impacts, but then we also have that shift impacting southeast as well. So that's where we're going to really see these impacts moving into. So here's just another look at this storm and what it's going to bring. That big stretch of green right there, that's a lot of rain that we're going to be monitoring. That's heavy rain pushing on through to most of these areas. Now, Copper River Basin as well as Seward are two of the main areas where we're expecting to see quite a bit of rain just for south central, but then we can expect to see a lot more rolling into southeast with between 1 inch to 1.5 inches impacting most of the regions in the Panhandle. So this is going to move through Monday afternoon for the Panhandle, and that's when you can expect to see a lot of that rain pushing forward. Now, wind isn't really a concern with this storm for southeast, but rain is really the big thing. Now, you do see a lot of that purple, and that's going to be snow in those higher elevation regions for southeast, but south central, we're expecting that snow in mostly the higher elevation regions, but we do have between 5 to 10 inches expected for those areas along the eastern portion of the Turnagain Arm. Now, Anchorage is expecting to have about 2 to 4 inches tomorrow morning, and then a little bit more pushing into Tuesday, but we'll continue to monitor that looking ahead into tomorrow. But those are just the big things that you can expect for your Monday. Now, the snowfall impact, what I was just talking about, you can already see almost 2 inches expected for Monday afternoon in Nome, but we are expecting just a little bit more moving on through. Now, that winter weather warning is issued in Nome, and that's going to stretch until Wednesday. This is going to bring nearly 8 to 10 inches. That's what we're looking out for. So if you're in that area, be cautious anytime that you are traveling. Of course, that's going to hinder some travel plans. So looking into Anchorage and the valley, we're expecting to see 2 to 4 inches for Anchorage and both the Matsu Valley. Now, that's going to come through Monday morning, and that again is going to hinder any travel plans. So make sure you're being cautious on the roads tomorrow morning and just throughout the day on Monday. But then we're expecting just a little bit more to roll through for the more westward portions of the interior in areas like McGrath, but in areas in the more southern portion of southwestern Alaska like Bethel, we're not really expecting to see too much snow, but we do have that blizzard warning in effect, and that is going to bring about 2 to 4 inches as well, mostly just wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. That's really the big cause for concern for that blizzard warning. Now, looking at South Central, here's just a closer look at what you can expect with our snowfall totals. You're going to see them really adding up as we get through Monday afternoon, heading into the evening hours, even going into Tuesday morning. Now, another thing that I wanted to point out is I don't have the totals mapped out for you in the Copper River Basin or for Seward, and that's because the high temperature for tomorrow in those areas are going to be above freezing, which means that we're not really going to see any snow accumulating And I don't want to misguide anybody when it comes to that. So any snow totals that we're expecting for those areas, we do expect in the overnight hours when those low temperatures are below freezing, but those high temperatures are going to prevent much more snow from falling or accumulating. But for Anchorage and those areas like Homer and the Kenai, we're seeing those temperatures sub-freezing for those highs, and that's why we're continuing to expect some snow accumulation for those areas specifically. Now for rainfall, which is another impact that this storm is bringing, we're not seeing a whole lot of rain moving in through southwestern Alaska, but we do have more rain expected to fall through the Aleutians. That's Adak, Unalaska, as well as Cold Bay. That's really where we're expecting to see more of that rain pushing in. St. George and Gamble are another one of those areas, but that's mostly just because they're based solely in the Bering Sea, not so much on inland or on those coastal areas that are right in the sea. So that's really why we're expecting to see more rainfall there. But then you'll notice McGrath expecting to see just a little bit of rain, but this also entails some snow accumulation as well. So this is going to kind of balance it out with that snow accumulation. But areas like the southeast are also going to see quite a bit of rain moving on through. So here's just a closer look at southeast and those rain totals. Nearly an inch in Yakutat, and then we're going to have over an inch in Juneau and Petersburg. So quite a bit of rain accumulating for Monday, pushing into Tuesday. That's what you can expect to start off your work week. A little bit of a drizzly start over in southeast, but you'll notice that those high temperatures are near 40 degrees. So if you do get any snow, the chances of that happening would be overnight when those lows are a little bit chillier. This is mostly true for Skagway. That's really the main area where we would expect to see any snow moving on through for the start of the work week. Otherwise, we're not really expecting to see a whole lot of snow moving through that area. It's mostly just rain, but again, that wind isn't really any cause for concern. Now moving into the interior, I haven't forgotten about you. You're just not much is really happening weather-wise for the interior. Staying very dry, not really expecting to see any rain or snow for the interior. Now we do have a little bit of a high wind watch in effect. That's that tiny little beige color just in the bottom corner of Delta Junction, but that's not really going to impact anything. We're expecting to see wind gusts in Delta Junction, eastward winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour, but otherwise we're going to see some of those temperatures starting to climb just slightly, about 5 degrees by the end of the week. So Fairbanks, you'll see those temperatures back up into the 20s or near 20 degrees by the end of this week, and it's just going to get warmer for you now. Of course, warmer is kind of a loose term when I say that, especially since temperatures are going to stay below freezing, but they are going to climb just slightly. Now, the North Slope is another one of those areas we're not really seeing any changes for. Temperatures going to climb just a teeny tiny bit, couple degrees, but otherwise no snow or rain expected in those areas. Now, Western Alaska, the big weather maker, we can see all these colors highlighted: the blizzard warning, the winter weather advisory, winter storm warning. All of these are impacts that are going to affect you if you live in Western Alaska. We're expecting to see a lot of snow building through the area, about between a trace to 3 inches expected in areas like Bethel, all the way up until the Seward Peninsula. But once we reach the Seward Peninsula, we're expecting about 8 to 10 inches for Nome, and that's going to span into Wednesday. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. It will last through Wednesday, but that's also affecting most of the rest of the Seward Peninsula. But the more north you get in the Seward Peninsula, we're only expecting about 2 to 5 inches. So not as much, but still, a little bit of snow goes a long way when it comes to these temperatures and wind as well. You can see Gamble wind gusts expected up to 55 miles per hour. Now for the Aleutians, it's calming down quite a bit. We can already see, just comparing from yesterday where we had a lot of rain in the forecast, it's drying up quite a bit moving into tomorrow. So expect those mostly cloudy skies throughout the Aleutian chain, but then areas like St. Paul and Dillingham, more rain is on the way with those temperatures staying near 40 degrees. Now for South Central, expect some snow moving through overnight with those temperatures staying a little bit chillier, but we're not really expecting a whole lot in the southern portions of the Kenai Peninsula. Most of that snow that we're expecting are going to span from Seward all the way out into the Copper River Basin. That's overnight with those lows staying below freezing, but you're going to notice that those high temperatures are closer to the mid-30s and even upper 30s, and that's when we're expecting more of a rainy mix to start to take over, and this is going to dominate mostly the later portions of the morning into the early afternoon. Now for Matsu Valley and Anchorage as well, do expect some snow in the forecast overnight and for the morning. So if you are traveling, do take precautions. If you're commuting to work in the morning, if you're going from Wasilla down to Anchorage, just be aware and just be wary. Those temperatures are still staying pretty chilly in the 20s, so that means more likelihood for snow to start to move on through. We're expecting about 2 to 4 inches in Anchorage and then areas more north like the Matsu Valley. So just keep that in mind if you're commuting or just making a little day planner for yourself. Now for our Anchorage 7-day, there's that snow in our forecast for Monday, a potential for that into Tuesday. Don't get too excited, not too much snow expected for Tuesday, if any, but we're gonna keep it in there for now just because the chances are up there. But we're gonna see that climb in temperatures up into the rest of this work week and then back down into the weekend. You can see right there. But then from Fairbanks, we're expecting to see that subtle climb in temperatures as well, lasting through the weekend, with temperatures down in the low teens, going up into the 20s. Now we're mostly expecting to stay partly sunny to partly cloudy for Fairbanks, but still staying dry, so that's all that matters. So with that, I hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend, night, rest of your work week, but we are expecting some fairly intense weather across western Alaska, mostly with those snow accumulation totals mixed in with that wind as well as those colder temperatures, and that's starting to branch out into south central, then that rain spanning out into southeast from the same storm. So it's kind of cool to see how just one storm from hundreds of miles away can affect an area all across the other side of the state. So with that, hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend and work week. Stay safe driving in the snow, but with that I will let you be and have a nice view of Anchorage.